Welcome to Fearlessly Made You. I am your host, Kristie Tobias. Joining me today are guests just striving to dominate in their personal and professional lives while answering the question, what does it mean to be fearlessly made? On this episode of Fearlessly Made You, I am thrilled and honored to have one of my dear friends, and you guys keep hearing me say my dear friends because I always bring my dear friends on the podcast because I love them so much. Brad Sanders. Brad is the public relations and events manager for one of the nonprofits in Pensacola that we both feel very deeply about, Gulf Coast Kids House. So Brad, welcome to Fearlessly Made You.
Thank you, Kristie, for having me. It's a freaking pleasure to be here.
I love it. Brad is one of those people that honestly, like, when you walk into a room, all you feel is Brad's energy. And it's magnetic and enigmatic. I know. How many words can I use to describe
I love
your
these
energy?
adjectives. I just love it.
They're perfect, but it's just a perfect description of you and who you are. And the thing that I love the most, though, about you, and especially having you on Fearlessly Made You, is you do really embody that, well, here I am. I'm just going to be authentically myself. And so I want to kind of learn more about that and where that came from. So, tell our Fearlessly Made You crew just a little bit about who Brad is.
Brad is first of all, Bradley's the real name, but I transitioned to Brad over the last few years. But I am a little country boy from Beulah. I grew up showing animals, doing Future Farmers of America. I had goats, I had chickens, I showed steers. And then I transitioned one day out of that when I was in college, and mentoring a mentor of mine is where I got that energy, because beforehand I was very self-conscious, a little bit more quieter, a little bit more reserved. But after a good mentor of mine, Megan Chapman, she can embody a room. She can take over a room.
Oh, yes.
She taught me that self-efficacy on how to walk in and be authentic. And that's where it all came from.
I love that. And Megan, if you're listening, don't you worry, girlfriend, because you're going to be on a Fearlessly Made You episode. Because I love that you're so honest about you had someone that helped support you in becoming that person. Because I think sometimes we take for granted that life is meant to be lived in a silo or just about us. And it's about the people that we connect with, and it's about the people that help shape our way. And I've had beautiful mentors and friends and peers like Megan, who I truly adore, and I'm glad that you bring her up. But I think it's so cool to see you being able to authentically say, I had help because I wasn't that way and I wasn't that person. And so it brings up the question of, what does it mean for you to be fearlessly made? And it's that reminder, as you guys are used to hearing, it's not being without fear, but not letting that fear own you. And so I'm curious for you, especially as you think about your journey and where you're at now and where you want to go, what does that mean for you to be fearlessly made?
To me, it's just being authentic to myself. Being an open homosexual man in the South, it can be hard sometimes. So to me, it's always going back to the core values of just being authentic, being me, and not trying to conform to someone's box. That's always been the thing. I do work in a line of work where I do have to be presentable. I do have to represent an organization. But at the same time, I do have my own beliefs and values that I still stick to.
Absolutely. Do you find and I think this kind of happens in general in professional life, is the person that you are professionally and the person that you are personally, I think we were taught, or at least in my generation, we were taught they have to separate. But I feel like the older I get, the more I realize that person that you are personally helps fuel who you are professionally. Have you found that to be the case for you as well? Or have you found that you need to have that separation?
In my line of work, it sort of overlaps with it, and you could probably speak on that too. But in the nonprofit world, with dealing with donors and stuff, it's I could be out having wine bar with you. We're having a great time of our life, and next thing you know, one of our big donors comes up, and I have to switch the reel and go into work mode. But I realize I don't have to switch the reel into work mode. I have authentic relationships with these people.
Yeah.
So it's just, let me turn around. They're my friends, and in this situation, this is not work.
Yeah.
So with me, I feel as if I'm able to mix those two very well.
I love that. Well, and you've mentioned work, and as we touched on, Brad works with Gulf Coast Kids House, and it's an organization that's very near and dear to both of our hearts. And for me, I had experiences from when I was 14 till I was 20 of abuse with someone that was not a family member, someone that I thought I trusted. And so that kid in me from 14 connects me to these children that we have the opportunity to work with. But I'd love for you to kind of dive in a little bit more into the work that you get to do and how it connects to you.
So Gulf Coast Kids House oversees all the child abuse cases here in Escambia County, Florida, everything from the investigation, the prosecution, the intervention, the mental health counseling, the medical team, and everything. It's a one-stop shop for child abuse is how we say it. My work is in the development philanthropy side of it. Because it is a not-for-profit organization, money has to come from somewhere.
Yep.
And my job, along with Megan Chapman and Stacey Kostovicki, is to help fund that place to keep growing, keep furthering it to the next step. Because we see over 3,300 children a year, which is a large number. Escambia County ranks number 4 in the whole state of Florida for child abuse numbers.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's a constant battle every day.
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you actually talk about that it is a constant battle, because there's so many difficulties and struggles that I'm sure you watch people go through. And knowing your journey, so I've gotten to see Brad kind of transition from intern.
Yes.
That's how we met. So fun fact is we first met, and Megan and I were actually, and we still are close, but we were like kind of two peas in a pod. And because I'd had the privilege of working with Gulf Coast Kids House since I moved to Pensacola in 2014. And Megan was one of the first people that I really bonded and connected with. And so outside of Stacey, of course, because Stacey's phenomenal. But Brad was there as the little intern.
I remember it was strategic planning about 4 years ago at the beach. And I was just walking the room. I was so happy and honored just to be at strategic planning.
Yes.
All the head honchos are going to be in the room. But I need to sit in my little seat and be quiet. And next thing you know, Kristie's there and we're just chatting it up.
Yep. Bad influence.
Yes. No, not at all.
Well, it's so cool though, because you have such a heart and such a passion for connecting people to Gulf Coast Kids House. But I find too, especially as I watch kind of you be you, I feel like that's just part of how you operate in general, is connecting people and building those relationships. So I'm kind of going backwards to what you were talking about, where you came from, a little country boy, and where you are now, as you're looking at kind of how that transition has happened for you. As you're becoming more authentically you, how do you feel like that's kind of, whether it's changing or not changing, the way that you see not just yourself, but your career, the directions you're moving in your life? What does that look like for you?
When I made the decision not to, quick story. So behind all that, being the farmer kid and country little kid and everything, I was in school for agriculture in college to start out my journey. And I thought I wanted to go into agriculture, horticulture related sciences. And after 2 years of doing school in that and also getting able to work in it, I realized this is very boring, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
And you're always taught in college that whatever you're going to get your degree in, you're going to do that for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And I was like, I can't do that. Cannot do that. So I made a switch to get a degree in communications because I had to get a degree in something. Timeline was running short. And after that, got into the nonprofit sector. And it's changed my scope because when I switched to communications, I thought, we're going to do something. We're going to make money. And that's what it's about. It's about making money and growing. Getting in the nonprofit world, you get to see that, yes, I am making money and I'm making money for someone else, but I'm also making money for a cause.
Yes.
And I'm able to see that money help others.
Yes.
I'm able to see programs grow to able to encompass more and serve more. And that's where my career has somewhat shaped and changed over the last few years, because I constantly think, I can't stay in the nonprofit sector for forever, but I'm like, but what if I could?
Right.
What if I do? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
I love that.
So,
well, and the impact that you have, it brings up a very interesting dialogue that I want to kind of put us back to. So you talked about before, being a homosexual man in the South is difficult. Being a homosexual man in the South, working for a nonprofit that works with child abuse. I'm sure there are so many things that you encounter. And I kind of want to break that apart a little bit, because one of the things that I love about Brad is, before we came together today for the podcast, he was like, how deep we going? And I was like, as deep as you want to. Also, why we have some wine today,
Yes.
of course. So I want to break that apart and kind of get your true download. And especially being in this community, you see things. And, I think we all have our interesting perspectives, but you see things and you are also in, we're in this weird generation where you and I are kind of in like different generations, but kind of not. But there's definitely that youth that you're also representing, which I love. So I want that kind of download from you.
So we're going to open that box.
We're if you want to and you're open to it.
Let's
yes.
open it.
Cheers.
Let's open. So another quick backstory.
Yes.
Before Gulf Coast Kids House, I did leave 2 different employers because of my sexuality. I was never fired because of it, but I was talked to by different leadership. Hey, maybe you need to simmer down or watch yourself or just be careful about who you are. Because upper management or higher powers are not fond of it.
Gotcha.
And so I realized that I did not need to work for places like that.
Yeah.
It's 2021 nowadays. But luckily at Gulf Coast Kids House, I'm very fortunate to have such strong leadership who supports this part of me.
Yes.
Because this is who I am.
Absolutely.
And they've been supportive since day one. So at Gulf Coast Kids House, I do feel very embraced to be who I am. I don't feel as if I have to be with like those previous employers where it was the simmer down type culture, conform yourself to a box. I feel that can be very expressive with who I am.
Yeah.
And still have those authentic relationships. Now, have there been those sticky situations before where I had to evaluate the situation and realize, all right, Brad, maybe let's come back down a little bit.
Yeah.
There have been those situations because at the end of the day, I'm still supporting a great cause.
Yes.
But
no, and that's a great way to think about it because I think sometimes people think about the conversation around being like fearlessly made and it means I can just boldly be myself.
Yes.
And you can be, but there are other people to consider as well who are impacted by who you are too. And you should always be able to show up authentically as you. But I think we find a greater purpose and a greater cause when we're able to think about how can I also help support other people's journey as well, which is so much of what you're able to do with Gulf Coast Kids House and with the community. So I kind of want to segue into, as we think about being fearlessly made, I think about those people who maybe don't have a voice to be fearlessly made or don't feel like they have a voice. What advice or feedback would you give to those people and seeing how you've been able to get to this place of authenticity for yourself?
So just like every other person who has this authenticity and being fearlessly made you didn't just happen overnight.
No.
I mean, you are pretty amazing, but it didn't happen overnight. We all had our own journey. My journey goes back to about middle school. It was a school of less than 200 people. It was literally one hallway. And I'm not going to name the school, but I did not have an enjoyable experience at all.
Yeah.
It was, I'm being called the F word almost every other day, bullying and all types. And since then, that really cultivated who I became and just wanted me to be more of me. And it's been a transition growing period. So it had to evolve over time.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And, I think that's something that's important because I think people think you have to take these like big, giant leaps to get to where you are. But I love that you say it evolved over time. And it brings me to the question of like how your family life fits into this. And if you were able to receive strength from family. I know you've built a great network of people just in general that you're around, but I'm curious as to like, blood family, friends, like what that looks like for you and how that network has helped support your growth journey.
So we are in a very Southern type area. My family is accepting of it. It is still a touchy area for it because everyone always thinks they have that gay cousin. I am that gay cousin in my family. That's the best, easiest way to say it. I'm the first one, or I'm the first one to be open about it. Is the best way to say it. So I do feel as if I have a much stronger connection with my network of those close friends who I consider a much more of a family basis, and nothing against my family at all. I love those people to death, but I had to find my own people where I can have true relationships, where I can feel 110% comfortable with them.
Yeah.
And that was on my own decision.
And I think that's important because sometimes people will hear that. And I think there's a little bit of a stigma that surrounds like being gay and families not accepting it. Well, completely dismiss your family. It's like, no, that's not it, because your family has gotten you to where you are.
Yes.
But authentically showing up does not necessarily mean that you have to authentically show up with those people who, may have raised you, because they also have their own journey and their journey may not intersect with yours. And I think about like my own experiences with my family. My family is phenomenal, but we've built to being that great unit.
Yes.
And my siblings and I as grown people are so close, and we're now getting closer as we get older, but it takes time to build that strength. And though our family is, my siblings specifically, my parents are very accepting, there's just different layers and levels of familyness.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we have to be honest and open about that and be able to have dialogue about that, which I think is what has brought my family closer together. But when you can't have dialogue, that's when the rubber hits the road of, I'm not going to be able to show up authentically because I can't talk to you about this.
So in my mind, every relationship is like an onion.
Love it. Love it.
There are so many layers to relationships with people. We have our own relationship. We have layers that we came across since the day you met me as an intern at strategic planning. My parents are divorced. So like my mother's onion, my onion with my mother is a lot more deeper than the onion with my father.
Yes. I feel that.
My father takes time and progression.
Yes.
My mother, it happened quickly. We were able to pull back some layers pretty dang quick.
Yeah.
But that's how I see it as.
Yes.
Each relationship is like an onion.
I love that. Everyone, we're going to change the name of this podcast to Every Relationship is Like an Onion.
Oh, I love it.
I love that so much. Honestly, that's probably going to be the theme for the rest of the time we're talking. Every relationship is like an onion. It's so beautiful though, because it's so true. And and I mirror that. Like I love my family and my parents. My mom and I have a different relationship than my dad and I do, but I love that ability to peel back the layers looks different for every person. So I kind of want to go back to, we talked about for you, where your life was and where it moved to, and that progression and journey of acceptance or not acceptance. And I think there are people who would really love to know for you, as you've built up each relationship, as you've built up who you are and that authenticity, that came with its struggles in and of itself within your childhood. So talk to us a little bit about what that looked like for you.
Childhood, there was the good days, there was the bad days. My family did not know that I was being necessarily bullied until it was the 8th grade, which is basically the end of middle school.
Yeah.
So I went from that whole entire time about like hiding it because I was very prideful. I was like a straight A student. My parents were always proud of that. I was in clubs and everything, but there was still the being bullied.
Yeah.
And when my dad found out he didn't know how to handle it. He goes, how can someone bully my child? And so those struggles all encompass that, but there's just been it's been a growing process.
That's fair.
So yes.
I think there's something to be said about a growing process, because I think we sometimes feel like we've gotten to a place of like, maybe we're not where we were before. And it's like, okay, we're here. Like now things should be better. It's like, well, there's always that growth. There's always those moments of continuing to progress. So shifting gears just a little bit. So thinking about kind of how you've progressed now and where you're at, as you continue to think about where do I want to go, whether it's professional, personal, whatever that looks like for you, what does that journey look like? And where do you feel like there are opportunities? And I'm kind of going back to your conversation around mentorship, opportunities where you're like, I can't progress forward unless I have like this, or I have these people around me.
So I feel as if I have multiple mentors. It all started off with Megan Chapman.
Yep.
Then it grew to Stacey Costavicki. Then it has grown to, you may not know, but you're one of my mentors. I find you to be a phenomenal human being.
It's because I show you how to drink wine. Is that
did.
what it is? Yes.
And I had a talk with, Hong Potomsky.
Yes.
She may not know this, but Hong is now one of my mentors, I feel
love
as if.
that. Yeah.
And I had a talk with her where it was identifying the tools in your toolbox.
Yes.
And you have all these tools, things that you feel like you're good at or you may be good at, but it's picking out that one or two tools and sharpening it the best.
Yes.
And going forward with that. Pick out which tool you want to use the most, or which tool is going to help you become more efficient, more strategic, or more aligned with what you want out of life or with your career. And so that was actually a conversation I had with Hong just 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Love that.
And so that's always my step, is always, Hong opened my eyes to that. It was always strengthening those tools or skill sets that I want to grow and get further in, such as if I want to go further career in more social media marketing,
Yep.
focus more on social media. Or if I want to focus more in results in improving efficiency within a company, go into the operation side of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those types of tools. And that's always a key thing to me, but also mentoring, because I'm not just going to become I'm not going to become a Kristie device overnight. You had a mentor. You had people help you get
Multiple.
there. Yes. And that's my thing.
Yeah.
You have a relationship with someone, form it, create it, peel back that onion with them.
I love it. Peel back the onion. We're going to keep peeling back the onion. So have you then found, especially as you're getting more of that foundation, especially with the people around you, people that you have seen that are starting to kind of look up to you for mentorship?
I have, and it's been a little odd.
Okay.
Because I never thought I was going to get into that situation where someone's going to come to me for career advice.
Yeah.
Or on personal growth advice. And it's humbling.
Yes.
It is very humbling to hear that. But at the same time, I just have to tell them it's just figure out what you want. And put yourself out there.
Yes.
That was the key thing. In high school, I competitively public spoke.
So were you doing like speech and debate?
No, it was Future Farmers of America,
okay,
which is in high schools that have a type of agricultural program. And in that organization, there is prepared public speaking, where you prepare a speech over the course of time. There's extemporaneous public speaking, which is you're given a topic, 5 minutes, you're going to prepare a speech, and then you're going to go on stage and present it. And then there's parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rule of Order, which is basically the mock courtroom.
Okay.
So I competed in all three of those. And that gave me the ability to be comfortable in front of people and putting myself out there and just speaking on a topic, long as I'm comfortable somewhat on the topic. But that's really what shined me on that's really what I focus on with talking to people about mentoring, people who've come to me.
Gotcha.
Is be comfortable, but also put yourself out there. Be comfortable, but also be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Is the whole thing.
I love it.
Yes.
You know, we've got peeling back the onion, the layers of the onion. We've got be comfortable, be uncomfortable. You know, I think there's something about that too, because the more relationships that you build, and I think especially about the work that you get to do in the community, your now ability to cascade the mentorship that you've received to others. I think as you're peeling back those layers of the onion, it allows for that uncomfortability to help you grow and to help you shine even more. And so I'm excited to watch like your journey and to watch how that progresses. And so I almost want to give like kind of if you were to kind of give this dialogue of, as I continue on my journey, this is the one thing I don't want to forget about where I am right now. What does that look like? And you're the first person I've asked this question to.
I know,
so
that's a tough
welcome.
one. I mean, there may be a few different things.
Yeah.
One thing that I've learned, just big thing in my career in the short amount of time, is don't act on full emotion. Take a step back. And I've learned this, and my boss probably will be laughing in her chair right now.
Knowing Stacey, she's probably like, okay.
Yes. But I've learned it, and it's take a step back, reevaluate.
Yes.
Don't act on that emotion, and prepare yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that.
Because as a young individual, we're so go-getters, we're so hungry for more and everything, but we are also, some of us, or a majority of us, are also very short-tempered, or just things are going right, or conflicts are arising, and we just want to let it out or outburst it out.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You have to reevaluate, reassess, think strategically, and move forward.
I think that's some great feedback and advice. And I think one of the things that I always talk about is people are always like, well, we're in the workplace now. We have all of these different generations. Like, how do you work with the millennials, or how do you work with the Gen Z? And it's like, it's the conversation around, let's think about where people are coming from right now, which is, to your point, when we think about, I guess it would be Gen Z is your generation. I don't know what our generations are anymore.
I'm technically on the line of Gen Z and millennial.
And I'm on the millennial, like young millennial, old millennial line. Which is a thing, apparently, because I'm not Gen X. But either way you put it, when you think about it, though, it's beyond the generations, but it's what everyone's been exposed to. And so I feel like that younger generation that's like right under me, which is, 20s, early 30s, like right in that cusp, there's a lot of instant gratification.
Yes.
And there's a lot, because you have access to everything. And so I think, and meanwhile, back when I had the internet, it was 100% dial-up. We had AOL Instant Messenger that took forever. So you knew if you were online at midnight, you may not get online. But it brings up the conversation that you said perfectly, which is bring it down, like slow it down. And laughing because you were saying, Stacey would be like, okay, sure. I'm assuming that's something that you're continuing to work on.
Yes. We have had instances where I can get a little feisty in an email.
Not you.
A little bit.
My shocked face.
Yes. But again, I have great leadership.
Yes.
To where it's not I'm outbursting an email, telling someone off. It's just how the tone is of an email.
Yes.
Or the tone of a message is. And again, I have my education's communications, more or less in interpersonal communications. And so it's all about how you perceive to someone.
Yes.
You never want to insult anyone. You never want anyone to feel lesser about themselves.
Yes.
You're working together, work together, communicate effectively, and get through it.
I love that, and I think that brings up a really great, good kind of closing dialogue around as we think about working together and what that brings. It brings that camaraderie. It helps build those relationships, but also helps you continue to be you. And in being you, there's that conversation around how do I continue to take care of me? When you think about self-care, and one of my favorite things about self-care is wine care.
I'm here for it. Here for it.
What is the wine that you cannot live without? And y'all, if you can see Brad's face right now, for those of you not on the YouTube, dead moments right now. Just dead moments.
You're right. Not where I thought that was going.
You're welcome.
The wine I cannot live without. First, it's a hard decision.
I know.
What are we eating?
Chocolate? No. Pizza? Ramen. Sushi.
All right, my go-to wine is always a Sauvignon Blanc.
Hey!
But now if I'm having red meat,
Mm-hmm.
it's a Pinot Noir.
I love it.
But
I'm here for it.
You can never go wrong with champagne.
Hey, and that's what we have today.
Yeah.
Brad, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being part of Fearlessly Made You.
Thank you for having me, Kristie. I appreciate
course.
it.
And you guys, stay tuned for the next episode of Fearlessly Made You.